Happy Friday, beautiful people. It is June the 9th, 2023, day 52 of year 5 of reading through books, laws, and prophets. And of the 5-year consecutive day count, it is day 1431. Today, we pick it back up in the book of the book of Moses, the book of Moses in the Holy Megillah, also called the Secret Nazarite Scroll. And we're going to pick up in chapter 6 on page 296. And Father, we thank you that there are multiple levels of eternal intelligence. All right, beautiful people. You first, Deshaun. Shalom, sis. Intuitive goat. Yay. Happy Friday, sibling, she said. Dawn, shalom, sis. What's good? Yada, shalom. Can someone please direct me to where I can purchase the Holy Megillah? Let me keep going. Somebody might have put it in there. You can only get it by calling it in. You used to be able to order it from Amazon, but they pulled it from there. Also, they had a website up, which they are redoing. Not sure when that's going to go back up. So now the only way to actually get it is to call in. I'm just scrolling through to see if somebody put it in there. Yeah. Hold on. I got my quick note. Let me post it in here for you. Call them. Well, actually, today on the weekend. Let me see. Call them on the weekend. That's when they normally pick up and answer. Search for it in my notes. Here it is. You can pay for it over the phone, or you can send in, mail in a money order or a check, and they're pretty good. It's only one person so far that said that they mailed it in like a couple weeks ago and they haven't heard anything. They hadn't got a return phone call or anything, but it normally takes a couple weeks anyway for it to come back, and they normally pretty good about answering the messages. So I told her give it another week, but she hasn't sent anything back yet. But I got to check my messages again today just to see if she got it yet. And I told her if she didn't get it yet, let me know and I'll reach out to them, tell them to be on the lookout for her stuff, because they definitely probably should have received it by now. But that is the address. I'm sorry, that's not the address. That is the number in there. That's the number. The address, if you want to mail it in, email me and I can send you the address. Hold on. I'll put my email in here. Email me and I can actually email you, or anybody who wants a copy of the order form if you want to mail it in. So my email. Thank you, Dawn. Yeah. They on Oregon time, right? Whatever. What is that? Is that? I don't know. Time zone. But yeah, look it up. So yeah, just be mindful of that and just give them a call and place your order over the phone. Like I said, they do credit card over the phone now, and it's pretty safe because a lot of people here has called and ordered it over the phone by credit card. But if you don't want to give your numbers over the phone, email me and I'll get you the order form so you can just mail it in. All right, beautiful people. Audrey, shalom, says Lavon. Hey, girl. Hey, Tabitha, greetings. Zachar, Yahoo, shalom. Mom, shalom, shalom. Shayla, hey, cousin. Hey, girl. Hey. Elijah, peace and blessings. Royal Empress Root, shalom, everybody. This is y'all precious jewel. I changed phones and had to change my channel. Well, thanks for hanging out from the other device. Avia, shalom, sis, shalom. Gloria, hey girl, hey. Kings and Queens Coaching Group, shalom. Okay, Dawn said it's a 4-hour difference from her and she is in Kentucky. All right, beautiful people. Yada, shalom, you're welcome, you're welcome. Drayson, righteous, shalom. And everybody else here hanging out in the background, top of the day to you. All right, y'all, so let's get back to this story about the protector, the protector and guardian of the honeypots. me and my husband was talking about this morning. It was like, actually, my mom yesterday was kind of going over it a little bit. And I was like, I wonder if this is how polygyny or polygamy, however you want to pronounce it, if this was how it was first started. Because I've heard other people from the Muslim side of things talk about Moses' multiple wives. And of course, when I first heard that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Moses had one wife. Of course, because I'm coming from the Christian side of things, but clearly they had a little bit more of the expanded story than we did, which was why it sounded like complete blasphemy to me. And yesterday, when we was going through it, of course, we was just a bit off. Jamil was like, it's not what you think. Keep on reading, it's not what you think. But we just went off about it, until we got to the end and we realized that what's the name? Shalisha, one of the 7 sisters. Moses married all 7 of the sisters, if you weren't here yesterday. If you missed it, you have got to go back and listen to the first part of this story. So Moses married all 7 of the daughters, but it wasn't his choice. It was actually the daughters who came together and made the choice. He said, listen, I love all of you. I mean, not like that, because he had been amongst them for like 7 years, and he cared for all of them. He said, and I don't want to choose one and make the other 6 sad. So I'm going to leave the choice up to y'all, So they came together. They was thinking about the land that they had and they owned. They was like, you know what? We like the land. Moses, cool people. How about we all marry him? They was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And so, but make a long story short, all 7 of them married Moses. So all 7 of them became his wife, right? But plot twist, only Shalisha, and they repeated that over and over again. They continued their daily teachings, like Moses taught them martial arts or Zion, and they taught them the portion of the holy scriptures that they knew and they understood, right, from the ancient scrolls. And after each one said what they would continue doing, and while Moses teach them, they said, but as before, and from this day forward forever, the only one who will share your bed from us is Shalisha. She is your true wife. We're just here until we get married, right? Until somebody comes along, because all 7 of them were virgins, right? But they said, and the way we was reading it before we came to the end of the story, we was like, who was they trying to convince here, themselves, or is they really mad that Shalisha was the one that was chosen to share the bed with Moses? But my Western mind thinking had it all wrong. It wasn't like what we are taught here about poly relationships, right? So, but Moses literally, he was kind of like the guardian of the sisters and the land until they decided to marry. And once a gentleman came along and the other wives of Moses wanted to get married, they were released from the covenant, right? Because now they would have a husband who would be able to protect them and guard them and build a family with them. Then they would be released from the covenant. And it wasn't until we got to the end of the story that we found that out, when their father Ruel, he said he agreed to the covenant that they had decided upon. And when it's time for the other 6 daughters to get married, they would be released from this covenant of, we'll call it covenant of protection of Moses, called a marriage. So I thought there was a really interesting plot twist. So as I was reading it and thinking about it, I think about the different people that I heard talking about Moses' multiple wives. Now this is making sense. But from the Western standpoint, well, you know how many wives they had, bro. So now I realize people who run off with that, they read the story half cocked, and now they're running through here fully cocked, trying to knock everything down moving. Well, just add another wife to my harem here, harem, whatever you want to call it. But it really wasn't that way, right? So I'm glad we kept reading all the way to the end. All right, so with that being said, yeah, look, we had to go through all the way through the shenanigans. Even though when we got to the end of the story, we were completely wrong and going off about nothing, it was still a fun process to walk through. I will say that. So if y'all missed that video yesterday, you got to go back and watch it. All right, y'all. Look, right, Deshaun. Look, they get the story half cocked, and then the nasty men started dipping. Look, dipping into the honey pots. Right. First of all, you are a guardian of the honey pot. You are not authorized to taste the honey from this pot. This is the only pot you should be tasting from. Right. These other ones, even though they're under your command and protection, you don't touch them. They're off limits. Right. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead. Moses, I don't want to make the rest of y'all
honey pots.
I don't want to make the rest of y'all upset about not getting all this goodness. Okay, y'all. All right, so
we here.
Chapter. So what you think about this story, Moses and the guardian of the honey pots, babe?
Oh yeah. They just don't read out of content. Just read the whole story because don't read it.
They'll start dipping into them honey pots.
They're gonna bump the other 6. You know what I mean? So just gotta watch it. It was good, interesting, man.
All right, y'all. Chapter 6, page 296. Yeah, watch the camera.
Huh?
I said, watch the camera.
I'm not coming over that way.
Okay. How about you walk that way? That was kind of close. I saw your shadow.
Okay, baby. Whatever you said, baby.
All right. Not that I don't want y'all to see my wonderful husband, but he need to be fully dressed. Okay. So you just walk through that way.
All of that. You see that?
Yep. Chapter 6. A 40-day fast and commission of Moses. Verse 1. Moses fasted for 40 days. Yea, for 40 days he fasted and prayed, seeking guidance from Yahweh. Then behold, on the 40th day, Yahweh spoke unto Moses. Lo, it was from the burning bush that Yahweh spoke unto Moses. Okay, so it's a burning bush here too. Okay. Let's see how this story goes. Lo, it was from a burning bush that Yahweh spoke unto Moses, and that was as follows. On the peak of the holy mount was growing a bush called Kane Benah. Kane Benah. And after Kane Benah is reference number 1. Down at the bottom, Kane Benah is a word from the tongue of the cherubim for the hemp marijuana plant. Wait, what? Hold up. Let's go back. Then behold, on the 40th day, Yahweh spoke unto Moses. Lo, it was from a burning bush that Yahweh spoke unto Moses, and that was as follows. On the peak of the holy mount was growing a bush called Kane Benah. Ruel had taught Moses that this plant was most holy, being a gift from the cherubim for the making of the hemp robe, the Nazarene garment for the high ritual. Okay. Throughout his fast, the presence of the holy bush had comforted Moses. What do you mean the presence? Hold on. I got to finish reading the footnote too. Listen, let me look. I don't want to get off like we did yesterday because I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. So I can smoke weed? Hold on, let me go back. I ain't smoked weed in like 6 years. Hold on. Okay, let me go back. The footnote. Kane Benah is a word from the tongue of the cherubim for the hemp marijuana plant. Like many cherubim words, Kane Benah, in the form of 2 separate words, migrated into biblical Hebrew, Kane, Qaneh, which means stalk, reed, or branch, and Benah, Binah, which means wisdom, understanding, insight, or discernment. That's the end of the footnotes. Let me go back up here. I'm going to reread this. I'm going to just start over. Verse 1. Moses fasted for 40 days. Yea, for 40 days he fasted and prayed, seeking guidance from Yahweh. Then behold, on the 40th day, Yahweh spoke unto Moses. Lo, it was from a burning bush that Yahweh spoke unto Moses, and that was as follows. On the peak of the holy mount was growing a bush called Kane Benah. Ruel had taught Moses that this plant was most holy, being a gift from the cherubim for making the hemp robe, the Nazarene garment for a high ritual. Throughout his fast, the presence of the holy bush had comforted Moses. Then, on the 40th day, while Moses chanted a sound of power, behold, lightning from heaven flashed through the darkness of night. Lo, the lightning struck the Kaneh bush, and it caught fire. Oh, yeah, Moses about to get high. Higher than what he had been these last 40 days. Then on the 40th day, while Moses chanted a sound of power, behold, lightning from heaven flashed through the darkness of night. Lo, the lightning struck the Kaneh bush, and it caught fire. See, I'm about to start a I'm about to start a marijuana dispensary, y'all. No, for real though. We actually do some work for the local dispensaries around here. Hold on, let me read this. Let me just keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Listen, y'all. Lo, the lightning struck the Kaneh bush, and it caught fire. The smoke of the bush entered Moses' nostrils, and Yahweh spoke from the bush, saying, Behold, Moses, you are in my presence. Moses replied, Who are you, my Lord? And the voice answered, I am the I am. I am Jah, God transcendent. Then another voice spoke from the bush, saying, Behold, I am Jah, God is transcendent. We are the I am, in whose image and likeness you are made. Then the two voices in beautiful harmony sang a song unto Moses. And the words of the song were, Receive now the Mazeh Gedolah. Then, like Abiel, Moses received the Mahazeh Gedolah. Then the two voices sang unto Moses another song. The words caused his spine and crown to tingle in ecstasy. The words of this song were, Receive now the Lord Christ and the Lady Christ. And those words were sung in heavenly tongue, yet Moses perceived the meaning. And the harmony of the voices of the two that sang was so beautiful that tears of joy streamed down Moses' cheek. Hold on, let me write a note. Notice though, before he got high, he fasted 40 days. Be like Selah. All right, put my music on in the background. No, I'm not though. I'm not. Look, it's a part of my vow. Look, it's a part of my vow that I've taken. I will not take smoke into my body. But you know, we'll see. Maybe I need to go on a 40-day fast. And I'm gonna ask this question again once I get to the end to the 40th day. Look, Deshaun, you gotta fast. Shoot. He definitely felt it down in his Sha-Na-Na Shogun. Look, okay, look. Hold on. I'll write my note. It's interesting. Quite interesting. Okay. Let me go back. Verse 21. The words caused his spine and crown to tingle in ecstasy. The words of this song were, Receive now the Lord Christ and the Lady Christ. And those words were sung in heavenly tongue, yet Moses perceived the meaning. And the harmony of the voices of the two that sang was so beautiful that tears of joy streamed down Moses' cheek. Then behold, from the burning bush, another voice came. Hold on. Then behold, from the burning bush came another voice saying, I am Jade, God imminent. And then another voice spoke, saying, I am Jannah, goddess imminent. Then a lamb appeared in front of the burning bush. Moses was definitely high. And on the head of the lamb was a dove. And then the lamb and the dove became a man and a woman. And the man spoke to Moses, saying, Nazarene lion, we have chosen you to free our people. And then the woman spoke, saying, You will reestablish the nation of Yisrael. You will convince Pharaoh to free his slaves, both Nazarene and Jacobite. For behold, you volunteered for this before you were born, and the time has now come. And Moses knew that the man was the Lord Christ Jade, and Moses knew that the woman was the Lady Christ Janah. For behold, he had seen them in the Mahaze Gedolah. Moses asked, When I go to Pharaoh and the people, who shall I say sent me? The Lord Christ answered, Tell them, I am sent you. Lo, Ruel, in obedience to the voice of the Lord and lady within, climbed the peak of the mount and now came upon Moses. Seeing the Lord and lady with Moses, Ruel fell to his knees in humility. The lady said, Rise, dear friend Ruel. You have prepared Moses for his work, and now the time has come. Hearing those words, Ruel placed the pendant of Yair around the neck of Moses. Yea, Ruel performed the ritual of consecration, then declared unto Moses, Go forth, Nazarene lion, to free our people. The Nazarenes will hearken to the voice of the Yair. After his fast for 40 days, Moses remained on the mount with his wife for another 49 days, gaining strength for his journey. A little bit of honey. You notice how through the Bible, the honey always lighten the eyes. I'm just saying. But make sure you're dipping from the right honey pot. Verse 48. After his fast of 40 days, Moses remained on the mount with his wife for another 49 days, gaining strength for his journey. After the 49 days, he asked that his wife and her sisters remain on the mount and await his return, for the journey would be dangerous. The 7 sisters of peace agreed, and after 49 days, Moses began his journey to Egypt. Yea, he began alone, but on the second day of his journey, he was joined by Miriam, the elderly prophetess of the Zeroah Nistar. She said, I am going with you. Moses replied, But you are very old, and this is a dangerous journey. The old woman replied, I have seen in a vision that you will need my help before this mission is completed. Seeing that Moses was about to protest, Miriam added, I have also seen in a vision that you will lose this argument. That's the end of chapter 6. Chapter 7 says, Let me know when them brownies done. Dawn said, Let me put these brownies in the oven. Look. Moses returns to Egypt. We're on page 298, chapter 7. Moses had been away from Egypt for 7 years, and when he returned, Pharaoh was angry. For lo, though Pharaoh had given his blessing to Moses' request to retreat into nature for a time of prayer and fasting, he never imagined the time would be 7 years. Wherefore Pharaoh had Moses and Miriam locked up in a room in the palace while he decided what to do with them. Behold, as he entered Egypt, Moses had perceived something was wrong. For wherever he looked, Moses saw the corpses of men and beasts. Yea, dead bodies of young and old, male and female, dotted the countryside, and the rotting corpses stank and were covered with insects, and many of the living men and animals appeared sickly. Moses knew that some sort of plague had stricken the land, but Pharaoh ignored his questions and ordered that he and Miriam be locked in a room. After a few days, Moses received visitors. Yea, his mother Jochebed and his father Amram entered his room. Moses told them of all he had experienced during the 7 years of his absence. His parents were overjoyed to hear that he had found Nazarenes upon the holy mount. They bent low and touched the feet of old Miriam. Yea, and their hearts were filled with pride when they saw the pendant of the Yair around the neck of their son. When Moses asked them about the plague that ravaged Egypt, Amram told him, Behold, it has harmed no Nazarene who holds true to the fleshless diet. I like that. right? Because if them animals get sick and you eating the animals, you ingesting whatever they got in them. When Moses asked them about the plague that ravaged Egypt, Amram told him, "Behold, it has harmed no Nazarene who holds true to the fleshless diet, but those who have fallen from the way and eat flesh in the manner of the Egyptians suffer the same fate as the Egyptians. Lo, it was the meat herds that first became sick, then it spread to those who ate from those herds." Moses asked, "Have you told this to Pharaoh?" Amram replied, "Only recently have I become confident in my observations. I have asked to speak with Pharaoh, but to no avail. His advisors say he is too busy to speak with me." Now, due to the influence of Moses' mother Jochebed, the Pharaoh's daughter Aish had long ago ceased eating meat. Okay, sis. Look. Now, due to the influence of Moses' mother Jochebed, the Pharaoh's daughter Aish had long ago ceased eating meat. And through the advice of Aish, Pharaoh had ceased eating meat 7 years before the plague began. For lo, he had been very ill with pain in his joints and had found great relief from his misery by following the advice of Aish. And that I would tell you from personal experience. When I had all those issues going on with me, Josh is what, 12 years old now? About 12 years ago. And I was in my early 30s, right? Early 30s. That's why I be so shocked sometimes when I see people late 20s, early 30s having heart attacks and stuff. I'm like, what in the world? They so young. But it's a lifestyle of eating flesh foods, right? When I stopped eating meat, all of that stuff that was going on with me, even some of the women issues that had started cropping up, all that stuff went away, right? It all went away. Now, due to the influence of Moses' mother, Jochebed, the Pharaoh's daughter Aish had long ago ceased eating meat. And through the advice of Aish, Pharaoh had ceased eating meat 7 years before the plague began. For lo, he had been very ill with pain in his joints and had found great relief from his misery by following the advice of Aish. Wherefore, all those who ate at the table of Pharaoh now abstained from the eating of meat in respect to Pharaoh. We ain't see that in the Bible. The day after the visit of his parents, Moses was visited by the Pharaoh. He said to Moses, "Forgive my harsh treatment of you, old friend, but I have been under a great deal of stress." Then Pharaoh told Moses of the plague that had stricken the land. As he spoke, Pharaoh wept, for many thousands had died, and more fell sick every day. The economy was ruined. Once productive farms were now fields of weeds. People were afraid, believing the plague to be a curse from one of the gods, and he, their Pharaoh, could do nothing. Moses told Pharaoh why he had been gone for 7 years and revealed the identity of his birth parents. Then he told him, "I know the source of this plague, and I know what must be done to prevent it from spreading further." He then explained to Pharaoh the observations of his father Amram. Amram had observed that the plague first struck the meat herds, and he observed that not one single Nazarene who abstained from eating flesh had become sick with the plague. Then Moses advised Pharaoh to order an edict warning the people to abstain from, Then Moses advised Pharaoh to order an edict warning the people to abstain from the diseased meat. Pharaoh replied, "Because I make no distinction between Nazarene Jews and what you call Jacobite Jews, I had not noticed the absence of sickness among the Nazarenes. First, I will order an investigation into Amram's observations. If it is true that none of the Nazarenes who abstain from eating meat have the plague, then I will issue the decree. For lo, it is true that the plague first struck the meat herds, and it is true that neither myself nor my daughter nor any of those who eat at our table have fallen to the plague. And we eat no flesh at the advice of my daughter, for she cured the pain in my joints." After Pharaoh had investigated, he called Moses to him. Pharaoh said, "It is as Amram observed. No Nazarenes have the plague. Wherefore I have issued the edict that you advise. Truly, Moses, I am in your debt. For lo, it was your aunt who taught my daughter to abstain from flesh, and it was your father who solved the riddle of the plague, and it was you who told me of Amram's observations. Wherefore, if not for your family, my family likely would have been stricken by the plague, and so I am in your debt. Behold, you may ask anything of me. Let's see how this goes. Moses replied, I ask this, let my people go. Release all of the enslaved Jews, Nazarene and Jacobite alike. For this is not only my will, but the will of my father, mother in heaven. Pharaoh said, my advisors will protest, but my word will stand. I will honor your request. I will free all of the enslaved Jews. Hold up. Let's keep reading. This caught me off guard. Real, like, he didn't protest. He said, my advisor's going to protest, but I'm going to let y'all go. Hold on. Let's keep reading. Moses said, I ask one more thing. Arrange a meeting between myself and the leader of the Jacobite Jews. His name is Aaron, and he is their high priest. Hold on. Let me keep reading before I say something. Moses said, I ask one more thing. Arrange a meeting between myself and the leader of the Jacobite Jews. His name is Aaron, and he is their high priest. For lo, the exodus of the Jews from Egypt should be orderly and well planned. Chapter 8, Moses leads the exodus. Where we at? 35 minutes. Okay. Behold, Aaron, the high priest of the Jacobite Jews, had lost many thousands of his people to the plague. Again and again, he had ordered his people to perform animal sacrifice rituals to protect them from the plague. True indeed. But if you read in the Bible, they don't tell you that a lot of Israel died. You don't find that out until you go to the Apocrypha, right? If you read through Jasher, I think a lot of it is in Jasher with the plagues towards the end of it, where they talk about the Exodus. I think towards like the 70th chapter. I could be wrong. Maybe like the 50-something chapter, something like that. Towards when they get into the Exodus, we find out that a lot of Israel died. Now, if you read the Bible, you think that all of Israel was protected through these plagues. They were not. Those who were consuming flesh and not keeping to the laws, the Nazarite laws, or the laws of life, the laws of the Creator, they were dying. But that all of that was taken out of the Holy Bible, right? So if you look at that and you see how even some well-meaning Christians and believers and stuff, they just don't understand why they're getting sick, and Lord heal me of my diabetes and my high blood pressure and all this stuff. You still chomping on flesh, G. Stop eating the meat and you ain't got to pray no prayer. Man, look. Behold, Aaron the high priest, Behold, Aaron, the high priest of the Jacobite Jews, had lost many thousands of his people to the plague. Again and again, he had ordered his people to perform animal sacrifice rituals to protect them from the plague. Again and again, those rituals had failed to protect the people. That's why Jesus Christ ain't showing up. Satan can't cast out Satan. Y'all get what I'm saying though, right? Again and again, he had ordered his people to perform animal sacrifice rituals to protect them from the plague. Again and again, those rituals had failed to protect the people. Most recently, he had commanded the Jacobite Jews to sacrifice an animal and smear the blood above the door to ward off the plague. Wherefore, when Moses told Aaron of his arrangement with Pharaoh to free all the Jews, both Nazarene and Jacobite, Aaron declared, finally, Yahweh has accepted our sacrifices. But you went upstairs.
You want me to stay upstairs?
No.
Trying to hide me?
No. I mean, put on a shirt. You ain't, look, he over here. Sliding past.
I'm trying to respect your space.
Sliding past the counter so y'all don't see his nakedness.
Your space, man. Can I go this way or no?
Go ahead, babe. Look, you're cutting the counter closing now.
I know. All right, go ahead.
Look. Okay. Listen. Okay. I'll go back to verse 5. Wherefore, when Moses told Aaron of his arrangement with Pharaoh to free all the Jews, both Nazarene and Jacobite, Aaron declared, finally, Yahweh has accepted our sacrifices. Yea, he was pleased by the blood above our doors. Wherefore, he has now freed us. Moses replied, Yahweh is not pleased with your bloody sacrifices. Come through, Moses. Moshe. Listen, when I figured this out before I even heard any of this, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a bloody disaster here. Even on Passover was the main one. I'm like, oh my God. And we just repeating the same foolery over and over again, acting like for play. Like, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with all religious festivals and feast days and all of this crap. Think I'm leaving out of one delusion, but I'm going headed straight right into another one. Listen. Wherefore he has now freed us. Moses replied, Yahweh is not pleased by your bloody sacrifices, nor is Yahweh pleased by your burnt offering. Neither is Yahweh pleased by the blood you smear above your door. Your freedom now is by Nazarene intervention as an act of mercy. For lo, slavery is evil, and none should be in bondage. Come through, Moses. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Okay. A plan was made for the Exodus. None would be forced to leave Egypt. Any Jacobites or Nazarenes who wished to stay could stay. For lo, some had intermarried with the Egyptians and had no desire to leave Egypt. Some were too old and frail to make the journey, and the numbers of Jacobites and Nazarenes who would make the journey were as follows. There were 120,000 Jacobites. Of these, 12,000 would make the first Exodus, and many others would follow the next year. Their numbers had been decreased by the decree of Pharaoh. Their numbers had been decreased by the decree of Pharaoh that baby boys born to the Jews be killed. Though that decree had expired, then depleted again by the plague. Let me read it again. I'm reading it all wrong. Hold on. Okay. Their numbers had been decreased by the decree of Pharaoh that baby boys born of the Jews be killed, though that decree had expired, then depleted again by the plague. There were about 1,000 Nazarenes living in Egypt, for behold, over the generations in captivity, many Nazarenes had fallen from the way. Only the truly faithful remained Nazarene in captivity from one generation to the next, and their numbers had always been small due to persecution. And of the 1,000 Nazarenes, 700 would make this first Exodus. Listen, so in the Bible we see that they all stormed out of there together, right, and taking stuff as they was going. They actually had a plan according to this. Everybody not going to leave all at once. We got the first group that's going to go, and Pharaoh was in full agreement. Only the truly faithful remained Nazarene in captivity from one generation to the next, and their numbers had always been small due to persecution. And of the 1,000 Nazarenes, 700 would make this first Exodus, because there would be thousands to feed on this journey. Pharaoh provided enough sacks of grain to make bread every day for many months. Yea, he provided many barrels of water, and he provided animals to carry the grain and water. The exodus of the Nazarene Jews and the Jacobite Jews began. On the day of their departure, Pharaoh bid farewell, telling all of them, "It is Moses who won your freedom. Wherefore it is Moses whom you shall follow. Yea, Moses is the leader of this march, and Aaron is second in command." Moses and Aaron rode in front. Yea, they rode camels provided by Pharaoh. And Miriam, the elderly Nazarene prophetess, rode beside Moses. This is an interesting take because according to the Bible, Moses and Aaron, well, we'll say Moses, Aaron was his sidekick, according to that story, they caused these plagues to happen because of the stubbornness of Pharaoh. According to more ancient scriptures, which have been translated and put into this book, none of that is true. When Moses came back, the plague had already ravaged the land and killed people because of the plague that attacked the animals, and those who were eating the animals died and they got sick as well, right? Listen, this is good. Where we at? We'll read this next chapter. Royal Empress Roots. This is the let me get my tea and cannabis. Oh, babe, you missed the part about the burning bush.
Oh, for real?
It was a cannabis plant that caught on.
That's what it said?
That's what it said in here.
It said cannabis?
Yes, cannabis.
Oh, wow.
Moses wasn't smoking it, but when the lightning struck and it hit the bush, the smoke.
All the doggone plants in the world.
Out of all the plants in the world, wow. I told them we're gonna start a marijuana dispensary. Hey, let's go. My husband said I'm totally with it. It's a good profit. Let's go. Look, I don't know if I can issue y'all marijuana cards. Marijuana, what do they call them? Marijuana medical cards.
Don't try to have no doggone reading down at the doggone dispensary.
I don't have no reading down there at the dispensary. Ain't none of this gonna be around there.
Moses, gonna name it Moses Burning Bush.
Look, we should and call it the Burning Bush.
Say it, stop. Just say it, no, man.
That's dope though. We're gonna open up a marijuana dispensary and call it the Burning Bush, y'all. Lord knows I don't need nothing to make me higher than I already am.
No, nothing.
Look, this is natural for me. Look, so Creator lit it up. I mean, it seems to be that way. Look, okay.
Pay her no mind. Pay her no mind.
Chapter 9.
She means not what she do.
Look, hold on, we at. It's 60 verses. We're gonna pause after we finish reading chapter 9. Okay. The parting of the Red Sea.
Who's that?
Right, Dreadful Cosmon. Creator say, blaze one for the nation. Fritz said, amen. All right, y'all.
Focus. This is not a weed talk.
Okay. The parting of the Red Sea. The plan was as follows. Pharaoh had told Moses of a certain place where during the driest season, the Red Sea could be crossed. See, look, they already giving you the details about this, where they parted the Red Sea. Girl, what is she doing? Are you trying to fix it? I know, I'm talking and I did all this and okay, thank you. She my clothing designer. If things are out of whack, she gonna come fix it. But I purposely covered myself up because, yeah. Thank you, sis. The plan was as follows.
Hey, I need you to go to
karate.
It's not time to go to karate.
I'm trying to print out this paperwork. I need you to print it out before Jeremiah leaves.
What? Wait, when he leaving?
He's leaving about, I don't know. What time you gonna be done?
In about 15 minutes?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. Chapter 9. We're on page 300. The parting of the Red Sea. The plan was as follows. Pharaoh had told Moses of a certain place where during the driest season, the Red Sea could be crossed. For lo, at this place of crossing, the Red Sea became a marsh, wet but crossable. Man, listen. All of the stuff in the Bible. Hold up. The Christian church likes to glamorize a lot of stuff when some stuff really shouldn't be glamorized. If we understand the science behind some things, it's like, wait a minute, okay, so everybody waiting for these. Listen, what's messing people up is all of these glamorized stories, overly glamorized stories that they put in the Bible. So people waiting. Let's think about the rapture, right? The rapture or the deliverance from Babylon, right? So we'll leave the rapture alone. We already know. Ain't nobody getting out of here if they don't go by death, right? So that's a bunch of foolery right there. Okay. But the being delivered from Babylon, rescued from Babylon, you got people waiting, afraid to travel the world for fear that if I go before the timing of Yah to deliver us all, something might happen, things might not work out. But they still being put in that same predicament kind of that people are who's waiting for the rapture to happen. It immobilizes you, right? So all of these overly glamorized stories and some of these overly glamorized, what people would consider miracles, the Red Sea parting, this more ancient scripture that has been translated said that it was a marsh at certain times, that it was dry, it was crossable, everybody could walk through it. I'm like, it's just like there is this I forget what it's called. It's the same place. I think it's I might get it wrong. It started with a B. There is a sea that rises up, not necessarily a sea, can't be a sea that big, but there's this body of water that connects I think it connects Russia. Is it Russia? I might have it all wrong. But anyway, I think it's Russia, like with North America. I might have to, I'm gonna have to look it up. I remember looking at it, but I know that it's like the same thing. There are certain times, certain seasons where this body of water it lessens, and it actually you can walk across it. To whereas any other time you would need to go by boat or ship or whatever, because all the water that comes back in. This is how they did this study on why that there were some animals that they found over in Russia, over here in the same place in America. It was like, well, who transported these animals? Then the more that they studied and they paid attention and they surveyed this area, they realized the water at certain seasons would go low and animals would freely run across. And you could literally go from maybe this is lack of the proper words. You could walk from continent to continent, so to speak. I got to pull that up. Yes, the Bering Strait. Yes, thank you. I knew it started with a B. Yes, the Bering Strait. Y'all look into that. My mom just put it there, the Bering Strait. Look into that. I was like, this is interesting, right? So when we are ignorant of nature and different things, some of these overly glamorized stories that we hear in the Christian church, like, oh, that definitely was a miracle. And so now you're sitting waiting on miracles to happen that never happen for you when everything is all in your power. You just need a little bit more education to help you along your path, right? But that's kind of one of the things Christianity does. Not only does it immobilize you, it makes you scared to read outside of that book, right? If you read outside of that book, they're going to lose you in that religion. We lost another one. They done woke up, right? Because they was like, wait a minute. Y'all are actually holding me in bondage here, making me think I'm going to go to hell if I read anything outside of the Bible. No, G, you're going to become educated and you're going to start paying attention, and you're going to start. And if you got the means to travel and check into stuff, you're going to become so free. It's amazing. Okay. Just me said, Cispan, we were told to test the spirit doctrine, so they give us the accounts in a way we cannot test it. Let's start testing what is corporal, because we are corporean still. I completely agree with that, right? Like, we're flesh, we're corporean, right? Test these things. Yeah, they put it in a way that it was Jonathan. Which Jonathan? Little Jonathan or Big Jonathan? It was him that remembered the name. They got to be Big Jonathan, or it could be Little Jonathan. They both smart as a whip. But anyway, Jonathan. You know, that's my brother. The way you spelled the name, Jonathan says you're welcome. Thanks, bro. I had to look at the spelling of the name because they spelled the name differently. All right, but yeah, the Bering Strait. Go look into that. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's go back to this. Let me just start over at verse 1. We're on page 300, chapter 9, the parting of the Red Sea. The plan was as follows. Pharaoh had told Moses of a certain place where during the driest season, the Red Sea could be crossed. For lo, at this place of crossing, the Red Sea became a marsh, wet but crossable. The Jacobite Jews and Nazarene Jews would reach the place of the crossing at the dry season. Depending on the weather, it might be immediately crossable. Depending on the weather, it might be immediately crossable. But if not yet crossable, they would camp beside the Red Sea for a few weeks until dry enough to cross at the marsh. So clearly, hold on, thinking about this story in the Bible, maybe they had to wait a little bit, because I'm thinking in the Bible, Pharaoh's army, the story that they tell us in the Bible, they had got to the sea, but they couldn't cross yet. And they realized Pharaoh's army was chasing them. So I'm just thinking ahead based on what I already know. We'll see if that's the case. See if it was crossable. But I'm thinking based on the story that they told us, when they first reached it wasn't crossable. But Moses had to come. By the time Moses got down there and raised his staff, I'm sure some time had passed. Let me just keep reading. Verse 5. Depending on the weather, it might be immediately crossable, but if not yet crossable, they would camp beside the Red Sea for a few weeks until dry enough to cross at the marsh. Then Moses and the Nazarenes would cross with the Jacobites and find a place for the Jacobites to settle. Then Moses and the Nazarenes would return to Cush. And this plan was due to the decision of Aaron that he desired not to return to Cush, but to seek a new land beyond the Red Sea. Behold, when the Nazarenes and Jacobites of the Exodus arrived at the place of crossing, it was not yet dry enough to cross. I knew it. Boy, I tell you the Bible and all its fictitious stories. Listen, y'all. Okay. Behold, when the Nazarenes and the Jacobites of the Exodus arrived at the place of crossing, it was not yet dry enough to cross. For lo, there had been late rains that year. Wherefore, they made a camp to wait a few weeks. Yea, in a few weeks they would cross the marsh. They had plenty of grain for bread and enough water. And Miriam showed the people how to make grain go further by sprouting it, than making bread that was baked in the sun, after the manner of the Nazarenes of Cush. The people liked this bread and called it manna from heaven. Use my other highlighter. I like this account. So bread didn't fall down from heaven. Oh my gosh. Listen, the way we think about miracles is all chopped and screwed, y'all. Listen. They had plenty of grain for bread and enough water. And Miriam showed the people how to make the grain go further by sprouting it, then making bread that was baked in the sun, after the manner of the Nazarenes of Cush. The people liked this bread and called it manna from heaven, for it was sweet on the account of the sprouting. For lo, when grain is sprouted, it becomes sweet like honey. And this manna fed the people, for behold, even the Jacobites abstained from meat for fear of the plague. Now the Amalekites were aware that Egypt was suffering from the plague, and so the Amalekites sent spies into Egypt to discover how weak Egypt might become. For though the Amalekites were too small in numbers to make war on Egypt, they might raid villages in the Egyptian countryside if they determined they were unguarded. But the Amalekite spies discovered an easier target. They learned of the Jewish exodus from Egypt and that it was not guarded by soldiers. They knew that there would be little wealth to take from the Jews, but they desired the grain and animals. And most especially, they desired to steal the young women of the Jews, Jacobite and Nazarene alike, for they would use them, then sell them as slaves. Wherefore, while the Nazarenes and Jacobites camped at the Red Sea, the Amalekites prepared to attack. But behold, Moses had scouts posted on hills surrounding the encampment, and the scouts reported the massing of the Amalekite army. Moses said, some Jacobites carry weapons, but are not trained soldiers, and the Nazarenes carry no weapons. We cannot defeat the Amalekites. Then Miriam, an elderly prophetess, spoke. Then Miriam, the elderly prophetess, spoke, saying, behold, Moses, this is the time I told you of, the time that you would need my service. Yea, this is a time of which my vision foretold. which vision was why I accompanied you from Cush. You must trust me and do as I say. For lo, we must act swiftly to save the people. Moses replied, I trust you, Nibia. And after Nibia is reference number 1 and 1. It's found on page, wait. I don't know that that's the footnote for 1, but there's none. Oh, previous page. It's on the previous page. Okay. Page 301 is reference number 1, and it says, the Hebrew word Nibia means prophetess. Related words are Nabi, prophet, Nebuah, prophecy, the words of the prophet, and Naba, to prophesy, to utter prophecy. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. The words of the prophet, and it has in parentheses noun. Then it has Naba, to prophesy, to utter prophecy is a verb. Okay. Verse 35 on page 302 at the top. Moses replied, I trust you, Nibia. Miriam said, have the people make ready to cross the sea. Moses replied, the crossing is not yet dry enough. Miriam answered, trust me. Moses gave the order that the people make ready to cross the sea. Then Miriam said to Moses, come with me to the place of the crossing. We will make it ready for the people. Yes. We still gotta go to the, not yet. So y'all get dressed and be ready to roll out here shortly. Have the people make ready to cross the Red Sea. Moses replied, the crossing is not yet dry enough. Miriam answered, trust me. Moses gave the order that the people make ready to cross the sea. Then Miriam said to Moses, come with me to the place of the crossing. We will make it ready for the people. Miriam and Moses stood at the place of the crossing. Miriam said to Moses, dance with me. Miriam began to dance, and Moses followed her movements. As she danced, she told Moses, chant with me. Miriam, still dancing, began to chant certain Nazarene words of power, and Moses chanted with her. Let me keep reading. Then Moses called on the angel of air. Okay, so I spoke a little too soon, getting all hype and stuff. All right, let me keep reading. And keep reading, y'all. Then Miriam called on the angel of air to part the waters, and lo, great winds came and parted the waters. Then Miriam called on the angel of sun to dry the seabed where the water had parted, and lo, golden beams of sunlight dried the seabed. Then Miriam said to Moses, tell the people to cross. Moses told the people to cross, and they crossed. As the last of the people crossed, the Amalekites appeared in the distance and began their charge. They too, it seemed, would cross where the sea had parted. Yea, and then they would attack the people. But lo, Miriam was not through. The prophetess called on the angel of soil to make the seabed a deep mud, and lo, the seabed became waist deep mud. Then she called upon the angel of water to close the parting of the sea, and lo, great waves came and closed the parting. And when the Amalekites reached the shore, they stopped, afraid to enter. Their general ordered some to enter the sea and try to pass, but those who tried sank to their waist in mud and were stuck. Yea, they had to be pulled from the mud with ropes. Lo, the Amalekites could not cross. Okay, so it did part. She called on the angel of the air and water and stuff to help. Okay, but it was Miriam. It wasn't Moses. I don't know, but it's still a good twist on this story. All right, y'all. So we're gonna stop right here, and we'll pick this back up. We won't be here tomorrow. Hold on. Let me check something real quick. What? Listen. I believe that I seen a video with a gentleman doing a dance too, right? I mean, all of this stuff has some truth to it. You know how they talk about savages doing rain dances, but that's because they're ignorant, or maybe on purpose they doing that just to try and get other people not to pay attention to what they're doing. But those who are truly in tune with nature and with the creator, they can act, or they can say something, they can even dance or sing, and nature will react to them. You know, and it's amazing. I aspire to be that way. Right now, I can do it sometime. My children will tell you, like when it's pouring down raining or something, or maybe I just said my little prayer, talk to the rain right when it was letting up. I don't know, right? But I have experienced it, and a lot of times it was during like the times of my fasting. Now that I think about it, because I'm way more in tune. But that is definitely a thing. Jamil said I watched a video of a woman in Africa doing just that, making the water retreat, and it did. She said it did not look fake. Hold on. I agree. Just me said the writers of the Bible won't be able to ascend until they clean this up. They may be the ones influencing us today. Just a thought. I don't disagree with that. Just me. Okay. Ain't it? The rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper. I knew it. It was my brother. I figured that out by looking at the spelling of the name, because little Jonathan's name is spelled different. So thank you again, brother. All right, y'all. I cured a fish from ick. I don't do much studying of sea creatures yet. So I'm not sure if that's a typo or if that's a real thing. Deshaun said I cured a fish from ick. I don't know. But you gotta give me a little bit more so I can understand what you're saying. Some people might know, but I don't. I'm kind of ignorant in that department. Let Intuitive Ghost say I've done things like, oh, it's a sickness. Okay, I kind of figured, but I didn't want to say something stupid because I know that okay, it's a sickness that goldfish get. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, listen, so it's a lot of little things like this that happen if we pay attention to it. It should lead us to ask deeper questions and just to go a little bit deeper in our understanding. But this sounds more plausible than the other story. Oh, listen, I only say that now because of my understanding of the angel of the air, the angel of the water, the angel of the earth, all of that by going through the Essene Gospel of Peace. If y'all haven't gone through that, you got to go get a copy of that and read that. I think all of this stuff like goes together. It fills in different pieces that we're missing, especially when you come from just reading the Holy Bible. There's a lot of pieces missing from that, and you can tell if you read it enough. I spent years reading it over and over and over 4 times a year. Every 90 days I would read through the entire Bible. That's when I started doing my videos, right? But we weren't doing them live. I was summing up all the chapters every single day. Every 90 days we went through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. But the more I read through it, I'm like, hold up, something is wrong in this book. I started noticing the tonality changes, the voices, and I thought it was just me tripping. But I read it so much, I became so familiar with it, and things just started sticking. I was like, something is wrong. Something is missing. This seems like this has been pieced together from another story. And I'm so glad that I did that because it led me on my journey here. And I was super gun-ho about reading the Holy Scriptures. I'm like, I'm going to take as much of this in me as I possibly can. And that's what I did. And I was faithful with it. But the more faithful I became, the more things began to unravel for me. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I started, it literally forced me to read outside of the Bible to try and figure out what was happening in the Bible. Even though most people tell you forbidden to read anything else, everything else is of the devil. I come to find out it is the opposite. This Bible is of the devil. Right? And it's a bondage because it takes bits and pieces. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a bit of exaggeration, but the more I read outside of the Bible, it expanded the story and put it in its proper context. And I was able now to identify who was speaking, so I can now rightly divide those scriptures and let you know who's speaking, who's not speaking. This is against the laws of life. Here is how, you can see all of that, begin to break it down. I haven't thrown my Bible in the trash, but I am much more aware of how it was put together, who is speaking in there now. And I still use it as a reference because it is some bits and pieces of truth in there that was taken from higher light, from the Creator, right? So it's really good. Look, you thought the Apocrypha was something, right? That was the first place I moved into, the Apocrypha, and it just kind of expanded from there, so, but it's been an amazing journey. All right, y'all. So we got to go ahead and end this. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. Let me put my page number 302. We'll be back. Oh, that's what I want to check. Tomorrow we won't be here. That's what I was double checking. hold on real quick. Check this out real quick. We're going to be coming up. Okay. We got one more Sabbath in this moon cycle. So we won't be here tomorrow because we're observing a Sabbath for this moon cycle. It's going to change in a couple weeks, and it won't be on Saturday anymore. It'll be on another day. It's either going to move to Sunday or it's going to do that skip and it's going to be on Monday. But we'll see. We'll keep watching and we'll observe. So we're going to come back Sunday. When we come back Sunday, we can be here for a little while, you know, because it's the weekend. And I don't think we're going to finish up. Oh, wait. We are. This is it. It's one more chapter. No, I'm sorry. No, it's two more. 11, 12. It's 12 chapters. So we definitely going to probably read 10, 11, and 12 on Sunday when we come back. It goes into the 10 Commandments and all of that good stuff. But then it begins the glory of kings, being an account of the splitting of the kingly line of Abraham and the prophecy of the healing of the split, including the revelation of the Queen of Sheba. Okay. So we'll probably get a chance to get into a little bit of that Sunday as well, even though we won't finish it. But I'm excited about it. I know a lot of people have read ahead, but I haven't. I could just kind of skip a little bit when I want to check on something real quick. But I'm reading this with y'all page by page. All right, y'all. So with that being said, it is Friday. Thank y'all for hanging out. It is June the 9th, 2023, day 52 of year 5 of reading through books, laws, and prophets. And of the 5-year consecutive day count, it is day 1431. And we read in the Holy Megillah, also called the Secret Nazarite Scroll, pages 296 to 302 in the book of Moses. And with that being said, beautiful people, Father, we thank you. I think I said this before, but thank you. Well, yeah, let me see if I can change it. I may have said this just maybe in different words. Thank you for allowing us to go through the process of uncovering truth. I mean, I feel like I said that just in different words, but the journey is fun. It really is. Even though we get pissed off at some points of the journey, it's like, man, I can't believe all of this garbage, lies and stuff. But by going through it, I think it makes us more authentic, right? It makes us more authentic because we've been down that path. And so once we get past that road, we become a reference for people who have yet to hit that point, right? And we can kind of help them stay steady. Listen, just keep on going. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We down this rabbit hole too, my G. Just keep going. We here. It gets deeper. Hold on. The ride gets more exciting, right? And it's more mind-blowing as the days pass, right? So I enjoy the journey. So Father, we thank you for the journey. Creator is definitely undefeated. All right. Deshaun said, thank you, Creator, for all we have and do. Yes, and amen. So with that being said, beautiful people, thank y'all for hanging out. Got to get going. I got to print off some paperwork for this project, for this job today. So if y'all ask any kind of questions, I'll go back and I'll scroll through all this a little bit later when I get a chance, and I'll probably answer it in the comment section or when we come back Sunday. I'll if I remember it, I'll bring it up. All right, beautiful people. So with that being said, I see y'all back here Sunday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love y'all. Bruce.
But I see through you.
I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gold. I've been far away. I'm illuminated now.
What did you just do to me?
I pushed your astral form out of your physical form.
What's in that tea? Psilocybin? LSD?
It's just tea. With a little honey.
What just happened?
For a moment, you entered the astral dimension.
What?
A place where the soul exists apart from the body.
Why are you doing this to me?
To show you just how much you don't know. Open your eye.
Been dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they want a coastline.
What's happening? This isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real, this is...
Dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they want a coastline.
His heart rate is getting dangerously high.
He looks all right to me. You think that this peculiar universe is all there is?
I don't need gravity, I don't need
What mysteries lie beyond the reach of your senses? Existence, mind and matter meet. Thoughts shape reality.
I don't need gravity, I just need growth. I'm a miscellany of this illusion. I am not really here, I'm an intrusion. I don't swim or sink, I just float.
Some benevolent and life-giving, filled with malice and hunger. Dark places where powers older than life and waiting.
I don't swim or sink, I just float.
Who are you in this vast multiverse?
I don't need gravity, I just need I don't need gravity, I just need growth.
Have you seen that before in a gift shop?
I don't need gravity, I just need growth.
Teach me.
No.
It's an earthquake rumble. I won't ever ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble.